The car leaves Itabuna, follows the Cachoeira River, and moves along the BA 649 on one side, water. On the other side, slopes, vegetation, and neighborhoods between Itabuna and Ilhéus. After crossing the bridges, the vehicle arrives at Banco da Vitória and meets the BR 415 again. That's where the road narrows again. The corridor is incomplete. The next link will be the northern bypass of Ilhéus, designed to connect BA 649 to BA 262, create an alternative route to the North Zone, and improve access to the coast. A connection to Porto Sul is also presented, but up until the closing of this video, there was no contractor hired, no notice to proceed, no construction site or construction progress. Porto Sul wasn't operating either. So what is being contracted? Will this highway be able to unlock the port complex? Because less than 8 kilometers will cost almost 90 million reais. Stay with us and find out what the new Ilhéus bypass will be like. What has already been defined from an engineering standpoint? And why might this road be finished before the port corridor it's usually associated with? The north bypass will be in Ilhéus, with a route starting from the area where BA 649 meets BR 415 in Banco da Vitória, heading toward BA 262 and the North Zone. The corridor will work like this: BA 649, Banco da Vitória, North Bypass, BA 262, Iguape and the North Coast. The National Highway System defines the segment between kilometers 10.8 and 17 of BR 415, a difference of 6.2 kilometers. The final route in the preliminary engineering design is just over 7.6 kilometers. Both numbers appear in the same official document. The administrative order, however, does not explain the methodological difference. Therefore, there is no basis to treat it as a measurement error or a reduction in scope. It's worth noting that the segment is classified as planned. This means it's not about restoring an existing road, but creating a new connection. More precisely, it's a viaduct over BR 415 near the Fundo Bridge. But the question that remains is, if the road will be less than 8 kilometers long, why did it take so many years to reach the contracting stage? The answer starts well before the current tender notice. Bahia's budget already included in 2010 the expansion of the Ilhéus Ring Road. However, the proposal was broader, with 26 kilometers, and should not be confused with the current Northern Ring Road. 13 years later, state authorities presented a more specific solution: a road starting from the fourth bridge of BR 649 in Banco da Vitória, heading towards Iguape and the north side. Also in 2024, the federal agency agreed to receive from the Bahia Infrastructure Department the project developed by the state without any transfer of funds. The basic design was approved in April 2025. In July 2026, DENIT opened the bidding process to prepare the detailed design and carry out the construction works. Therefore, the bidding did not come from a newly announced idea. However, there is a contradiction. While the future highway was moving forward toward contracting, Porto Sul and the railway that were supposed to support the main logistics corridor continued to follow a different timeline. Before understanding this difference, it's necessary to analyze what engineering actually defined for these less than 8 kilometers. By the time this video was finished, the highway was still not under construction. The project remained in the electronic bidding phase. There was no winning company, no contract, no ties to proceed, no mobilized construction site or physical progress. However, the stage goes beyond just a promise. The contract will be semi-integrated. This means that the National Department of Transport Infrastructure, DENIT, has already defined the main solutions, but the future construction company will have to detail dimensions, quantitative methods, interferences, and execution procedures. The highway has reached the most advanced technical stage among all components of the logistics corridor. But moving forward with the document doesn't mean being ready to build. On the ground, the first challenge will be to turn the designed route into a buildable road platform. Before any excavation, the company must validate the available information and may need to supplement it with topographic surveys. geotechnical drilling, and conflict mapping. It will be necessary to stake out the center line and check electrical networks, pipelines, buildings, and access points. The size of the area involved helps to understand the complexity of this stage. The area declared for expansion is approximately 450,000 square meters, about 45 hectares delimited by 157 georeferenced points. This area does not correspond only to the roadway. It includes the road platform, shoulders, cuts, embankments, slopes, drainage, connections, structures, and right-of-way strips. With the land demarcated and the surveys completed, earthworks begin, which create the base of the road. In the higher sections, excavators make cuts. In the low areas, soil is deposited and compacted to form embankments. They try to make use of the excavated material, reducing transportation and disposal. However, wet, organic, or low-strength soils may require removal, replacement, or stabilization with gravel, lime, cement, geogrids, and geotextiles. But preparing the soil won't be enough. The next challenge will be controlling the water. That's where drainage comes in. The south of Bahia has rainfall that requires attention to water control, one of the main enemies of pavement. The system should collect rainwater from the road, prevent it from accumulating in the lower layers, and channel it without causing erosion on the slopes or flooding in the surrounding areas. A road can have a strong surface and still develop potholes, settlements, and early deformations when water reaches the base or the subgrade. With the platform prepared and the drainage system in place, the pavement construction begins. The conventional sequence starts with the compacted subgrade, goes through possible reinforcement, subbase and base, and ends with the final surface layer. The thicknesses will depend on the soil strength, on the volume of vehicles, the proportion of trucks, the axle loads, the rainfall, and the service life adopted in the project. The tender notice confirms the construction and paving of the segment, but the available documents do not allow us to identify the composition of the layers or the type of surfacing. Therefore, the specific use of hot mix asphalt, or CBUQ, should not be treated as confirmed information. But the complexity of the project will not be limited to the pavement. The intersections will also play a decisive role. There is public indication that the project should include at least an overpass over BR 415 near the Fundo Bridge. Thus, the northern bypass already has a technically defined alignment. The final version, however, will only emerge when the project tests the original design against the soil, water, traffic, and real ground conditions. After so many technical details, it's worth taking a break to translate the scale of the project. The area designated for implementation is approximately 450,000 square meters. That's equivalent to about 63 official soccer fields. But pay attention, it doesn't mean that all this surface will be paved. The polygon includes the road platform, cuts, embankments, slopes, drainage, connection devices, structures, and the right-of-way strip. The 7.6 kilometers defined by the preliminary design alignment are equivalent to approximately 73 soccer fields of 105 meters lined up. In highway terms, it's far from being an enormous stretch. Even so, just add a viaduct, large earthworks, and complex connections, and little by little kilometers turn into a significant engineering project. The updated tender value, close to 89 million Rs, represents a mathematical average of approximately 11.7 million Rs per kilometer. For comparison, the southern bypass of Arapati in Paraná will be 4.71 kilometers long, with 2 viaducts, 3 roundabouts, and 1.7 kilometers of an added passing lane. With an investment close to 68 million Rs, its average reaches about 14.4 million. There is also a planned deadline of 14 months, and during this period, the future contractor must complete the detailed design, mobilize teams, prepare the land, carry out earthworks and drainage, build structures, pave, signal, and open the road to traffic. Therefore, it's less than 8 kilometers. But on a new highway, length is only part of the challenge. The challenge lies less in the distance and more in the interfaces. Before these difficulties reach the construction site, however, the project will still have to overcome a long administrative phase. The future of the Northern Bypass will be decided far from the machines, very far. The 14 months of execution did not start with the publication of the bidding notice. Before the construction, the process needs to receive proposals, analyze documents, qualify competitors, judge appeals, ratify the result, sign the contract, and issue the notice to proceed. That's why there is no guaranteed delivery date. When it becomes operational, the connection will be able to complete the corridor started by BA 649, offer an alternative for the northern zone of Ilhéus, and reduce traffic on urban routes. It also tends to make travel to Iguape, Itacaré, and the northern coast easier, and improve the movement of workers, services, and goods. But these benefits are expectations. There are no public studies to estimate how many vehicles will be diverted, the time saved, or the reduction in traffic jams and accidents. And here we return to the contradiction presented at the beginning. The Northern Bypass is out to bid. The West-East Integration Railway, FEOL 1, designed to reach Ilhéus, is facing contractual and economic redefinitions. Meanwhile, Porto Sul remains non-operational and depends on financing, business reorganization, and the resumption of construction. These are connected projects, but with different timelines. The anchor cargo for Pavment's terminal, iron ore, was planned to arrive in Ilhéus via FEOL. The bypass will play a complementary role, supporting workers, services, equipment, road cargo, and regional mobility. According to Agencia Infra, the authorized financing could reach 6.59 billion reais. However, approval by the Merchant Marine Fund does not mean that the money has been released or that work will automatically resume. Be cautious when labeling Porto Sul as the Northeast's largest port. The terminal is not yet operational. The projects have different capacities, and which one is the largest depends on the criteria used. The road could strengthen this corridor, but the most concrete outcome will be completing a necessary road connection to Ilhéus. Thus, it could be completed before the terminal that usually justifies it. Thank you for watching. What are your thoughts on the Southern Bypass project in Ilhéus? We're not discussing a long highway like we usually cover on construction time, but it's still very important. What do you think? Share your opinion in the comments. I'll wrap up here. Take care and see you in the next video.